I used to wear this jumpsuit in conventions until people started posting online that Ernie Hudson has no life. So, but you just happened to catch me after the photo shoot, so if you don't mind, I'm going to take off my clothes.
Take it off.
But yeah, so good to see you guys, and thanks for coming out and hearing what I have to say.
Does anybody have stripper music on their phone?
Yeah, no, that's,
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm sure I'd be offbeat if they played it. But anyway, so yeah, so good, and we're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. You know, good. So I kind of like this sort of half position. Good, great. So thank you for. Sorry. Now I'll turn the floor over to you.
How's everyone doing today? I know I already asked that question.
No.
This is my first time doing this, so please ignore me. So does anybody have any questions for Ernie Hudson?
I'm pretty loud myself. How did you get cast to be in Ghostbusters?
Well, you know, being an actor, being an actor, it's a life of a little bit of uncertainty. You know, you're never sure what's coming up, you're never sure who's going to do what, or the future is a little bit unclear. You just, you hear about things, if you're fortunate enough to get an audition, to get in and meet someone, you know that every movie there's at least 100 people who are up for it and being considered. And so somewhere in the middle of that, you hope that, you know, you'll be the one to walk away with the job. And so I did a movie called Space Hunter. We shot it in Vancouver with Peter Strauss and Molly Ringwald. Ivan Reitman felt that I was all wrong for Ghostbusters because that character was bigger than life, and my head was shaved, and he thought I was all wrong, so they refused to see me. And so after about 3 months, I finally got an audition, and I was brilliant, and but it took them a little while to see that I was brilliant. I had to go back about 5 to 6 times. But that's, you know, the persistence of doing what you do. Because I just felt when I read the script that I wanted to be a part of it, and there's a way. I think I was raised to believe that we're human beings, but the greater part of us is being, is spirit. And that if you only recognize the human part, that's all you see. This whole experience is the human part. But there's a spirit part that everything comes from. And that the spirit part is very aware of you and your dreams. And if you can let go, the spirit part will guide you. And so when I went into Ghostbusters, I don't know how I'm going to get in this movie. I just know that the universe has a way of coordinating things that I personally have no control over or understanding. I just know that it will deliver to me if I can let go. Now, it's very difficult as a human to not want to be in control and not want to feel that you understand everything. So when I decided to become an actor, there's a part of me that thinks I'm going to do this thing. But in reality, I don't know how to do this thing. I'm from Michigan, which is not too far. And I don't know anybody in the industry, but I know that spirit will deliver in a way that I can't plan or predict. And that's been how I've sort of gone through my career, just trusting that the universe will deliver in the most amazing ways. So.
I'm so glad that you got
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I got the part too. But I will say Ghostbusters was very difficult because I wanted the role very badly. I was a single dad. Money was tight, and I got the script, and I really, really wanted it. And then just before we got ready to shoot, the script changed. disappointing. And so there was a lot of political things happening that was very difficult for me to sort of get past. And sometimes you have to surrender even though you don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. But I'm glad now, 30 plus years later, that, but I had to grow up. I had to really grow up, and I had to learn how to sort of surrender, you know, not take it personal. And it was hard. Ghostbusters it was fun. A lot of people say, oh, what was the most fun you ever had? No. So it was fun, but it was still a challenge. And it took a long time to really sort of make peace with some of the stuff. But I love the guys. The guys are great. And I'm very, very thankful that I was a part of it. And I also see it as a perfect little movie. In spite of all the things that happened, it turned out exactly the way it should have been. But it's hard sometimes to see that when it's happening. You know, when you step out and you look up and there's a big poster and you're not on the poster, and you were told you'd be on the poster, it's a little bit hard to kind of go, wait a minute. And on and on and on, I don't want to get into it. And then they did this, I don't want to go there. But it was a growing, it was probably the best thing then, and I think the reason I'm an actor 30 years later is because I learned to allow. I think it's really important. So, anyway, more information than you asked for, but
All right, so. Oh. Yes. Testing.
Test.
There you go.
So, two-part, quick question. So what did you think about the reboot that they did for Ghostbusters? And also, what was your favorite movie that you worked on besides Ghostbusters?
well, the reboot. Was that a reboot? No. No, the reboot. You know, I love the girls, the ladies who were part of that. I think they're all very, very funny. I don't want to be critical. I'm a fan of Paul Feig, and I just would have done it differently. I didn't understand why you do a reboot with something so much of, part of people's consciousness. I mean, it's not like you can take some movie made in the 30s that nobody knows and then you do a reboot. I mean, so you say you don't want the comparison, but you're going to redo that. I don't get that. It's 30 years later, you know, so why can't there be a ghost problem? And then the girls answer the call. And then the girls can be themselves and they don't have to do a version of us. You know, any version of us will make them less attractive than they already are. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I mean, can we get a hairdresser in here and fix their hair?
But your cameos are phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, but I think if we had made cameos as ourselves, it would have been a lot funnier as opposed to Bill Murray being some, what was he being? A ghost critic guy, you know, who gets thrown out of the window. I wanted to throw him out of the window, to be honest. But, so I didn't understand that. And also, I missed, honestly, in storytelling, what I love about Ghostbusters is I love the relationship of Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver. You know, this kind of, you know what I mean? And there was no love story. I thought there would be a love story with Kristen Wiig and Chris Hemsworth. And there wasn't, you know, he played really dumb. Which was funny for about 10 minutes, but not for the whole movie, you know. So, and like I said, I don't want to be really critical, but I will say our jumpsuits were cooler, just saying. You know, and honestly, our car was a whole lot cooler.
Oh yeah.
But so anyway, but I'm glad they did it, and I see a lot of little girls in the Ghostbusters outfits, and I think it's very cool that they did something. I just wish they had done it a little different. So. And they paid me to come and do you know, cameo, and that was, I always appreciative when somebody pays me. You know, I'm just when they first asked me, it was like, really? Because you make me feel like I'm asking you. See, when you ask me, then you make it, you know, enticing. You know, and you're not making this very enticing. So it took them a while to come back and say, okay, you know, we know what's going to happen. Just You gotta kiss me first. Anyway, I'm just saying. So it was fun. It was fun to be a part of it, and I'm very, very thankful to have a movie, because a lot of actors do a lot of movies, but there are very few that, 20, 30 years later, people still love and appreciate it. And that's cool. Very cool.
And what was your favorite movie like after Ghostbusters that you worked on?
Well, I'm an actor, and when I first decided to become an actor, like I said, I didn't know how that would happen. I didn't know if I'd ever get cast in something. And so you say a prayer. And so my prayer was to work. I want to do this. And in exchange, when you say a prayer, you say, oh God, if you do this for me, then I'll do this. So I'll do this is I will always honor the profession. I won't take it for granted. And so every time I've been able to get a job, I've always tried to make sure that, that I'm there. You'll never hear about me being late. You'll never hear about me showing up, not knowing my lines. I mean, I work with some actors, I'm like, really, how did you? Yeah, so I guess I'm saying to say that I've enjoyed all of them, but for different reasons. Because every film is a different location. We did No Escape from Australia, and it was like the best location. So when I think about that movie, I think about the location. I have my family there. Sometimes it's the characters that you work with, and in Oz, I love the guys who were part of that. I mean, they just really, in The Crow, working with Brandon was amazing. Sometimes it's the script, The Hand Rocks the Cradle. I loved that story, and I love that character. So each one is something that's a little bit, The Substitute, I kind of enjoyed being that guy who's a little bit twisted over thinking he's a good guy, but he's really doing awful things, and people get confused. But they're all favorite for different reasons, because no two are really ever the same.
Do you actually believe in ghosts?
That's kind of interesting, because I grew up in a time, my relatives were from the South, and they totally believed in ghosts. I mean, they would tell you these scary stories that you really don't want to hear when you're 5 years old, because, you never sleep without the lights on. So I grew up believing ghosts, there were ghosts. So I believe this is a sort of a pathway through to something else, that to have this experience, we need a body. Without the body, you can't have this experience on this plane. But I believe that we're spirit, and I believe that that's eternal. That's forever. These bodies are not. And so I look at my body and I go, oh my God, what happened? My body says it is only going to get worse. So we know this isn't forever. So I believe that, yeah, there is something beyond this dimension. Now, whether it shows up and freaks you out at night, I'm not sure. But I don't play with it. I get invited to go on ghost haunts. I don't want to go on a ghost hunt. I have friends who are dying, and I'm like, I'm going to miss you, but don't come and visit me. Wait until I'm there, okay? I don't want to see you in my bedroom at 3 in the morning. So there's a part of me, I think, that's a little bit, I'm not looking to go into something. We went into an insane asylum, and oh my God, it was so freaky, and we just felt all these things. Like, no, I don't want to go there. And I think maybe I'm a little bit afraid too, of things, a lot of stuff, like drugs. People say, oh man, we got so high, man. I mean, that stuff was like, oh man, I was like, I couldn't even hardly move, and that was like so. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to now. I don't want. If it was whatever that was, it was so much. I don't want that. I mean, I kind of like the world as it is. I don't need to alter anything. I don't need to see anything beyond the normal. I know I drag on a long time with these answers, but So anyway, yeah, so do I believe in ghosts? I believe, but I believe there's a barrier for a reason. And I think we use our imagination to imagine all kinds of horrible things happening. That scares me a little bit because I think we do have the power to create. And some of the stuff I think we're trying to create is something we really don't want. But yeah, so I think we all share multiple universes. We all have our own universe within ourselves, and everyone is different. And every reality is just a little bit different. Even if you share lives, the way you see the world might be totally different than the way your mate sees the world or your children sees the world. I don't know if that answers the question, but somewhere in the middle of that. Sure.
So, for the upcoming cartoon series called Cradle for us, if you, Bill, and the rest of the original cast and crew were offered to be in it just like the remake, would you guys do it in a heartbeat?
Well, I'm a working actor, so there's a steady paycheck in it. I tend to, there are things I won't do, I will say that. But if I was asked to be in it, most of the things that I'm not in is because I wasn't asked to be, or because they wanted me in and they didn't want to pay me. And so, but I think that's something very, very different. I wasn't asked to be in the cartoon. They sort of slyly asked me, but then they didn't really want me, I think. They said, oh, we didn't think you'd really want to do it. So anyway, the answer is if they ask me to, then I'm sure I would probably consider it, if it's something worth doing. But I will say, at this point in my life, if it's not kind of fun, there kind of has to be a reason for doing something now. I don't want to just work just to have a job. My kids are all grown up, and why? I did a lot of things that I didn't particularly think was that exciting or interesting, but they paid me and I did it. But I don't want to do that anymore. I'm too old for that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I loved. But then it shows Hollywood. I did Agent Follow for 3 years. I think we did the series, and then they were going to do some other thing with Agent Follow, and they wanted me to come in and audition. I'm like, no, not really. There's something about the industry that tries to minimize you, and so that's one nice thing about doing the convention. I see people who love the movies and remember the character. Because Hollywood basically tries to say, whatever you did that was, so why should we pay you now? Because, so it's, but I love working on Transformers Prime. It was one of the most fun things I did. Sure. So, probably a little bit about what's happening now. I guess I know we're talking about Ghostbusters, but last year I was working on 3 series. I was doing a series called APB that was for Fox, and we did 13 episodes. I was working on a series with Nick Nolte and Cecil Ward called Graves, and I was working on Grace and Frankie. There was a certain point where I just felt it wasn't really what I wanted to do, and when you get into your 70s, you start thinking, is this how, because we don't know how long, whatever. So I'm not doing those shows anymore. Maybe Grace and Frankie, I might go back and do some more, but I did a movie called The Family Business that should be out around the turn of the year, which was a lot of fun, and I'm working on a Netflix movie now called Napoli Ever After with Sanaa Lathan and Lynn Whitfield. We're shooting in Atlanta. And it's a fun character. I think they saw my arms and they assumed I was in great shape, so which is not a good thing to do. So we really, really want you. We just think you're so great. And I agreed to do it, and then I got the script, and I'm an underwear model. So, in their billboards, we shot the scene with a huge billboard behind me. Which, I mean, I was okay with the billboard, except they didn't Photoshop it. So all the little moles, and this thing was just so wrong. So I go, but why? Why would you? And so they said they're gonna fix it, we'll see. But anyway, but yes, but it's a lot of fun to see this huge script. So now it's really about, you know, what's fun to do, and yeah, and also realizing that life is not forever. You know, I got a wife who I don't see a whole lot of, and I'm thinking, you know, this is really what I want to do, because I bought a car 6 months ago. I've only driven 300 miles on it. It's like, it's in my garage charging. It's a Tesla. It just sits there. So you kind of go, you know what, but this is your life. You know, you only get one time around. So, yeah, so that's, you know, anyway. Okay, on that positive note. Hi.
Hi. So the Ontario Ghostbusters are here too, and they're all dressed up, and they've worked so hard to get all the props and stuff done, and everything goes towards charity. So just wondering what you thought about people who did stuff like that for Ghostbusters.
I think it's great that, you know, out of Ghostbusters or any movie, but especially Ghostbusters, that people were so inspired by the movie to go to the expense of making. In fact, this isn't my jumpsuit from the movie. My jumpsuit went missing from a hotel room in New Jersey about 20 years ago. And but one of the fans made this for me and made me a backpack, and another fan made me one of those. I don't know what they are, but you see, I work as an actor, but I don't really watch this stuff. I mean, the fans know the lines better than I do. I'm like, oh, okay. They go, remember when you said, and I go, yeah, sure. But so anyway, what was the question again?
Just what you think about people using the Ghostbusters?
Yeah, so the Ghostbuster guys who love the movie have come together, and they have all these chapters, and they literally have them pretty much in every major city around the world. I mean, certainly every city in the U.S. They have Ghostbuster chapters, and they do a lot of charity work, and I think that's very, very cool to find a way to come together and have fun, and also to give, because what becomes really apparent to me is socially there are going to be any improvements is really going to come from people and not from governments or even churches necessarily, but from people who have fun together and decide, let's reach out. And so I have a lot of admiration for the Ontario Ghostbusters, and I was in Edmonton last week at the Alberta Ghostbusters. I mean, so they have them all over. It's really very, very cool. So they make me an honorary member. I go, well, you know, I'm kind of like an honorary member. I mean, I'm sort of the original. I'll take the plaque, but I really, it's all good. It's very good.
So, the question would be, how was it working with Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality? And which movie that worked on had the most funniest, like that made you laugh? Meaning that, like with movies, when you look at somebody, you try to keep in your character, and all of a sudden, I guess the outtakes, like who would have the funniest outtakes, which movie?
Well, I love Sandra Bullock. I think she's really talented and very beautiful. I used to tell the joke about it. I offered to leave my wife for her, but my wife didn't think that was funny. But she's just amazing, and she produces a lot of movies, and like I said, I have total respect for her. And all the movies are kind of fun. I mean, I tend to, always, have a fun time. So Ghostbusters with a lot of fun on set. But I usually do, and most of the actors who are good at what they do are usually really fun to work with. The ones who are insecure are not. You know, he's probably really throwing a tantrum and walking off the set. And usually someone who's insecure about, they're not prepared, and so they don't want the blame for them. It becomes the cameraman's fault, or the this guy's fault, or whatever, or the script's fault, or it's not. It's just that. Yeah, no, I usually have fun. Yeah. I don't know one more so than others. You know, some people are a little bit more open to that, but yes.
How is the working with David Lynch and these? Is he a lot of person that's
Yeah, no, you know, first I did Twin Peaks because I didn't know what I was going to do. They just asked me if you would like to be a part of Twin Peaks. And because it was Twin Peaks, I said, sure. I mean, working with David Lynch, I'm a big fan of his work. I had no idea what I was doing. They didn't show me the script. They didn't really show you much of the scene. And I never saw it. I mean, I hadn't seen it. My wife and kids saw it, but I hadn't seen it. But it was fun being a part of. It wasn't very odd. They really was adamant about me not saying anything about the show. I'm like, I got nothing to say because I don't know what the hell we're doing. I mean, I don't have anything to say, you know. So, but it was. I like being a part of that. Some things you do because I just like. I work with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. I just like working with them, you know, because they are who they are. And sometimes you do that because it's not the character or the script or the money, it's just David Lynch doing it. So it's nice to be a part of it. Very strange show. And I saw a couple of the episodes. I didn't see mine, but it's David Lynch. So,
I was wondering, because most casts, when there's a group of them, they're like all friends after the set. I was wondering in Ghostbusters if you're still friends with the cast.
Yeah, you know, I've come to an understanding as I've gotten older. I was telling someone, I said, well, you know, I think I'm a friendly guy, and he said, no. He said, you're cordial. Whatever that means, I don't know. So I get along with everybody, but in terms of friends, I don't really go out drinking, sort of. So maybe I don't know. I guess now I look at my life and I think it's a little odd. I mean, I don't know. You know, I think sometimes when people are into something, they like to drink. They don't really want you along if you don't drink. You know, it's like you kind of spoil the party. I remember I was doing a movie. I hesitate sometimes to say the name, but I don't think it matters here. But I was doing a movie called Weeds with Nick Nolte, and so the story I'm about to tell, Nick Nolte wasn't in this group, but it was a group of the actors. And I got along with everybody, but we were all friends, but every time they went to lunch, they never invited me. And it just felt a little odd, so I thought, well, maybe I haven't extended myself enough. So I said, hey guys, where you guys going? And they said, well, we're going to lunch. I said, well, you know, okay, I'll come along. They didn't ask me to come along, but I kind of volunteered. So I got in the car with them, and then they pull out the drugs, and then I said, no, I don't, you know. And so it was really awkward. So that I never invited myself to lunch again. I had no idea because they share things in common that I didn't share. I'm not criticizing what anybody does. I'm just saying I didn't understand that sometimes people, you know, so I don't really hang out that way. You know, I like them a lot, but I'm not going to show up at Daddy's house. Hey, Daddy, how you guys doing? Not home. No, it's not. And I, I guess I'm a little odd that way. I don't know. I like people, but I don't want to hang around.
Just curious, what's your dream role? If you could have shot a dream role, what would you want the title to be? And also, Canadian
Yeah, it's a great car. I love the car. Just, you know, even though if you get it, if you step on it, it goes from 0 to 60 in like 2.4 seconds. So it's like the weirdest thing, you know, really. The ideal role, I don't know. You know, I think being African American, a lot of the normal parts people don't consider you for, so I end up being somebody's authority figure. You know, they have the CIA or the FBI or the principal or the warden. It's always the same suit. That is so not me or how I see myself, even though I know I have a stern look. Because I can see in people's eyes, but I think being a single dad, you develop a look that says, sit down. You know what I mean? You're in public now, and you know, and I can't grab you by the throat. So look at me, you know. And I do that with actors sometimes too, because sometimes actors get a little bit, you know, overplayful, and you just have a way of telling people to back up. So maybe something in my voice that comes off a little bit. Ideal role. So I always wanted to be James Bond, but now that I'm 70, almost 72, I don't think it's going to happen. So to be the leading guy and get the girl, which is starting to happen now. Except they're all old women now. You know, it's like. Finally, I'm at a point of, I'm the underwear model at this stage. Like, thanks a lot, guys. You know, when I had a body, you know, and I wanted to take my clothes off in Oz, everybody had their clothes up except me. I was buttoned up all the time. So, I don't know. I just want to have fun, you know. Yeah, I just want to have fun. And have fun with people who are having fun. And get paid. And laugh a lot, you know. Yeah, so I don't know if that answers it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys. One more time, Lee.
Yeah, no more time. I just want to say, you know, you guys have been so great. First off, yeah, just to be here. I mean, you guys have been so kind, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, it means a lot to me to be able to come up here, and I love the fact that you guys are here with your families, and yeah, so just really be good to yourself, love yourself, love this time. You know, this is not an accident. We're in this place and time for a reason, and just appreciate just how special it is.